Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to News and Views on Salam Media with Fazlin Franceman Talib. And this segment, we're going to be talking about the Keffiyeh. So, as many of you know, tomorrow is World Keffiyeh Day, which is a day of solidarity with Palestine, but a visible show of solidarity. So, what we have is a guest that has been on our show previously, Firdoze Bulbulia, and she's an award-winning feature film director. She creates, and directs films and media. And she will be unpacking for us the symbolism of the keffiyeh, because many of us know, just on a very basic level, that the keffiyeh represents some sort of solidarity, at least as the people not in Palestine with Palestinians. But in actual fact, there obviously is a lot of symbolism of the keffiyeh in terms of what it means, what it stands for, what are the different, sort of figures and things that are on there. And she will unpack for us just what that symbolism means, so that tomorrow when we do don our keffiyehs, we don it with a little bit more of a greater understanding.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to News and Views on Salam Media with me, Aisha Kaji, your guest host this week. We had a wonderful conversation just now with Susan Abul Hawa, but then unfortunately the connection to her in Doha cut. Once again, I urge you to go and read her beautifully written but searing article in the Electronic Intifada that the world history will record that a genocide was committed by Israel. Please go and read that. Next up, we have the story of the Keffiyeh, a journey across time and resilience. And to help me with that, I welcome into studio Firdoze Bulbulia, activist, mother, filmmaker extraordinaire, and so many other things. Firdoze, I'm sure you need little introduction to South African audiences. So I'm going to dive right in there and welcome you and thank you for joining us this morning. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much, Aisha. I've been listening to this very interesting, wonderful project and program that you put together today. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. I see, Firdoze, that as you often do, you're wearing one of your gorgeous Keffiyeh outfits. And since the theme of this show is to unpack the symbolism behind the Keffiyeh, and the history behind the Keffiyeh, so many of us wear in solidarity with the Palestinians, I'm going to ask you to stand up and do a twirl for us so that our viewers can see your gorgeous Keffiyeh outfit.
I don't know how much of a twirl we can do, but anyway, here we are.
Oh, that's beautiful.
At least what it does give you is the pattern and the design, as we know, the borders and the net, fish net, and the symbol of the olive tree, whether
Absolutely.
it's the leaf itself. Yes.
Yeah, let's talk about that symbolism.
I also brought this for you to see, which I think is so important for South Africa. And
absolutely.
Yes, we can talk about the symbolism. I was also saying the different colors that one is finding now, and the famous hibari that I bought whilst I was with you. Actually, we met together
in Palestine. Yes. And while we're on that, let's just inform the viewers that the Hirbawi factory in Palestine, which is on the outskirts of Hebron, is the last remaining Keffiyeh factory where they hand loom using some machinery as well, but they hand finish the Keffiyehs at the Hirbawi factory. And it's a family business. It's intergenerational. It's wonderful to go there and help support them. They used to produce hundreds of thousands of Keffiyehs every year. And then during COVID were reduced to only a couple of thousand. Unfortunately, they had to let a lot of workers go, etc. They also experienced difficulties in getting the materials they need into Palestine because of the restrictions imposed by the colonial occupying regime. But I do really urge anyone traveling to Palestine to go to the Hirbawi factory and support them. You can also buy Hirbawi online. And I'm going to hold up my own Hirbawi
Yeah.
keffiyehs here. That's the actual keffiyeh of the city of Gaza, Gaza City. So keffiyehs are very much like perhaps the Scottish plaid. That's the best metaphor I can think of, the tartan in Scotland, because although we think of keffiyeh as being the traditional black and white one that most Palestinians wear, or most of us wear in solidarity with them, or the red and white one that is traditionally associated with Jordan, there are, of course, keffiyehs associated with different areas of Palestine, with different tribes and families in Palestine. And there's a whole history behind this. It is such a beautiful garment, such a beautiful symbol of Palestinian culture, which, as I was talking to Susan about, is being deliberately targeted for erasure. So it's a very good thing that people around the world are wearing the keffiyeh in solidarity with Palestinians, wouldn't you say, Firdoze?
Well, absolutely. And I think, there was a time when, if you remember, it was quite a fashion item. And that's why I was showing you the different colors that we found. And whilst we
Yes.
were at the factory, they had done a special one for Mandela. So it was an African Keffiyeh. I don't know if I did send some pictures. I hope that you could find it. And
Yes,
they were
yes, I did.
saying to us that it was so important. I think it's really the symbol of Pan-Africanism. And that for people to know that the Keffiyeh does represent different regions, different people, different districts, and the colors therefore represent the different people.
Mhm.
Initially, I was also quite astounded. I think that we knew when it was a fashion item, it was, in pinks and purples and blues.
Yes.
But I didn't realize that right there, I had this wonderful pink one that was
Mhm.
multicolored, and I wore it, I think, almost every single day, the entire last year. And then unfortunately, I lost it in New York City in
Oh,
the
what a
US.
pity.
And I have this feeling that somebody picked it up and is definitely parading with it, especially now.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. That's a wonderful passing on of the fashion item, if you will. Yes, and
Yeah,
the
and
Mandela.
the
Sorry, go
history,
ahead.
the legacy, end of the history and the legacy. I was like, for it to fall right in the heart of New York City means that there has to be some story with that. It's a layered conversation. You were saying about
Absolutely.
the
I was
Mandela.
saying about the Mandela keffiyeh. I remember it being in beautiful yellow and gold colors, shot through with other colors of the South African flag, etc. And of course, Mandela was one of the most famous people to wear a keffiyeh himself. It was made very much a symbol of Palestinian culture by Yasser Arafat. People like Fidel Castro have worn it as well. And for women, it was always a men's item. Throughout the Middle East, as far west as Turkey and as far east and north as Afghanistan. But it became a woman's garment, or something to be worn as kind of, shall we say, war chic or terrorist chic, as it was then called, when Layla Khalid famously wore it. And since then, other women, famous women such as Madonna, for example, and more recently, other actresses, including Bella Hadid and Gigi Hadid, have worn the keffiyeh as a symbol of solidarity with the Palestinians. So we've had up on screen a couple of the keffiyehs, the red and white one, as I said, that traditionally was associated with Jordan. And that goes back to the time of the British Legion, where they were trying to identify the Jordanians from the Palestinians who were then refugees in Jordan. And so the Palestinians were wearing black and white keffiyehs and the Jordanians were wearing red and white. And since then, that's become an enduring kind of habit, if you will. But also going back to the keffiyeh as a fashion item, Firdoze, I'm not sure if you're aware that it was banned together with the Palestinian flag in Palestine for quite some time. In fact, anything that recalled Palestinian nationalism and particularly the colors of the Palestinian flag was banned. But there are other countries that have also banned the keffiyeh.
Yes,
Do you want to? Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, yes, absolutely. And I think that's probably the one that's come up with the the Pan-African keffiyeh. I think what is important is how people have taken it on as a symbol of resistance,
Hmm.
but also the idea of semiotics, how the
Hmm.
symbols can tell a story and how the
Absolutely.
story is passed on. And I think it's important for us to realize that whilst we wear it as a fashion item, just the wearing of it is a revolutionary sign. It is something that we are
Absolutely.
saying in the way that we walk and talk and dress and everything. I think I think about South Africa and the protest theater and the protest
Yes,
t-shirts that we
absolutely.
wore. The UDF t-shirt, which was such an
Yeah,
important
the raised
iconic.
fist, etc. The,
Yes.
you know,
And
all,
so
all the colors of the Azanian people, etc. Yes.
and with the keffiyeh, what it does is it also, I think, when people were wearing it at the time in Palestine, was also as a disguise so that you didn't know who people were because they covered their faces, they covered their
Hmm.
heads. They could wear it, you could wear it as hijab. You could decide how you want to wear it. What is interesting now is that in some places, if you walk in with the keffiyeh, people already get really quite uptight and
Uh-huh.
they don't know how to react. And so what I have been doing is to wear it all the time. When I'm in a
Hmm.
public space, now even if I'm doing a red carpet, I am wearing the keffiyeh. And it
Oh,
is
well
my
done.
resistance stance. It's to say you will deal with it.
Hmm.
And I think there's also the confusion because people are sometimes unaware about whether it is indeed the keffiyeh. I went the other day to the Joburg Film Festival to the closing ceremony, and so many people came up to me and said, "Oh my goodness, I love your black and white." And I don't
Hmm.
know if they fully understood what it was, but I
Hmm.
ensured that I did wear it and that I took pictures next to people whom I knew would be posting online. So in
Uh-huh.
this way, it's a silent resistance. It's a form of revolution. I think that when we wear something, we are intentional, and for us to realize
Absolutely.
that it's not just that you're wearing it because it's fashion. You're wearing it because you are saying something, and people need to read deeper. They need to get the more kind of layered reasons for what people are wearing. It,
Absolutely. I think that's a wonderful exposition. I just want to say that the two keffiyehs that were most recently on your screens, the lovely green and gold one, is actually the keffiyeh of Hebron. And it really brings back the memories for me, Firdoze, of that gorgeous green ceiling in the mosque, the masjid of Ibrahim alayhi salam in Hebron. And I know that the gold also symbolizes the gold of Al-Aqsa. And in fact, the Al-Aqsa keffiyeh is largely woven in shades of gold. The one that was on your screens a little while ago, the white and blue one, is the Mediterranean keffiyeh and symbolizes the Palestinian people's connection to the Mediterranean Sea, which was in many instances the roots, for cultural cross pollination, and of course, very importantly, for economic and trade routes. Firdoze, let's look at the symbolism of the actual uh, bits and pieces that get woven into keffiyehs. You mentioned a little earlier the olive leaves and the olive branches that are often, woven into the keffiyeh. So these symbols here that many people interpret also as waves
yes.
represent olive trees, as do the ones on the keffiyeh I'm wearing, which, by the way, was woven by Palestinian refugees in Jordan. And this is in the colors of the Palestinian flag, as you can see. So these symbols of the olive tree, what do they bring to mind for you, Firdoze?
Well, I guess, as you know, my daughter's a lawyer, and I always think of the olive tree and the olive branch. And you wonder
Yes.
what you're doing, in terms of the voices, the stories. What does it mean to have an olive branch? But
Mm-hmm.
I think for us as well, when we understand the settlements that are taking place, the way that, again, you talk about erasure, the way in
Mm-hmm.
which these colonialists are coming in and stealing people's land and stealing those olives and then bottling it and having us buy it, that we have to be so clear about what it is that we are eating and what it is that we
Mm-hmm.
are participating in. So I know that there's a group of women from South Africa who go to Palestine to help during the period of picking olives. I
Mm-hmm.
also know that our former ambassador was quite vocal about the way in which people were treated whilst picking the olives during
Yes.
harvest time.
So they go
It
to help to pick, but they also go to help protect the Palestinians from the
yes,
settlers who try to prevent them accessing their land. So if anybody
yes.
wants to volunteer to do that, it's a really worthwhile cause.
Absolutely, and also just those images of you see, the tension that's happening, and I think that's
Mhm.
what for me the olive is about. It's
Yes.
about that fight, the fight for space, the way in which we negotiate, the way in which we come to support each other.
Mhm.
How do we offer support and solidarity, and using that olive as the connection, really, that's really
Absolutely.
important.
Olives
And I
constitute about 70% of the Palestinian economy. And so somebody in Ramallah said to me that the olive symbol is particularly important, not only because of its economic importance, but also because olive trees live for hundreds and even thousands of years. Some of the oldest ones in Palestine are about 1,000 years old, it is estimated. And so it has also, in recent times, in the last few decades, come to symbolize the resilience of the Palestinian people themselves, despite so many attempts to erase
and that
them.
And that was part of the conversation, wasn't it? Where they were saying the
Mhm.
settlers can destroy these trees because they have no connection to the land.
Mhm.
They have no connection to those trees. They do not understand the ancestry, the depth of that, as you're saying, 1,000 years. That is our history. That is our legacy. And these people can come and just, chop them out and continue building
Absolutely.
as they wish.
Absolutely. And this symbol here that's up on my screen now, the fishnet, again,
Yes.
that is, of course, indicative of the Mediterranean Sea and the cultural and economic ties that bound the people within Palestine and in their neighborhood. But in recent years, that also has sadly come to represent, to some extent, the barbed wire and the fences that fence people in little enclaves so that they can't get to family members or friends that are barely 20 kilometers away, as our guest yesterday, Farehan, was talking to us about. And
Absolutely. And you yourself experienced that. I mean, those
Mhm.
checkpoints, just going from one neighborhood to the other. We were all there last year. I can't believe, Aisha, we were there last year. That I get goosebumps when I think
Yeah.
about it, that we were so fortunate
We were
to have
indeed, and we
experienced
spent Eid together with a whole group of South Africans and Palestinians. It was just magic, I think. And inshallah, we will go back, and inshallah,
that.
the
Yes,
Palestinian people will have respite from this constant harassment, torture, bombardment in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, and of course the genocide that is currently going on in Gaza. We can just pray and hope and stand in solidarity with our brothers and sisters there. The other symbol, or the final one that's really, very, very prevalent on Keffiyehs, I can see it on the one you're wearing as well, are
yes,
these
just the
solid
border.
lines, the
Yes,
borders, and
borders.
again, they symbolize to different people the trade routes, the cultural routes, but also, unfortunately, again, in recent times, the walls that have come up,
Yes,
separating Palestinians from one another, the apartheid system, not only of discriminating against Palestinians with things like access to water, etc., but separate roads, separate education systems. Archbishop Tutu once said to me, Firdoze, that the apartheid in Palestine is worse than it ever was in South Africa. And to be honest, I didn't believe him until I went there.
yes,